So you want to do something cool. Maybe you want to build a startup, a product, or maybe you want to have a really cool career. And for you to be able to do that, there is one obstacle, and that is to get people to trust at what you have built or what you can deliver. And it's so difficult to get somebody's trust, right? I've spent more than a decade studying psychology, human behavior, built multiple startups, worked with startups in the early stage journey, and even with unicorns. And there's one thing that I've realized. What I've realized is that the difference between a product and the person, or the difference between your dream job and you, is your ability to convince the other person about what you can deliver and what you can do. Today I'm here to not to give you a lecture on any technology or algorithms, but I'm here to tell you about the important skill which you need in the age of artificial intelligence. And that is storytelling. But before that, let me tell you a story. I was 6-year-old. I was with my parents, and we visited this beautiful hill station, and this was the first time I was ever going to step into an elevator. I heard about those. I knew my father had one in his office, but I've never been inside one. So me, along with my family, everybody, I'm so excited. I'm on the 2nd floor, and we have to go to the 10th floor, and I'll do that from an elevator. So as I step into it, I look at all those buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4, up until 12. And my dad says, press the button for the 10th floor. And just when I was about to do that, I froze. I started thinking about every possible way this can go wrong. What if the cable snapped? My father looked at me. He understood my panic. He said, don't worry. I use it every day. We have a similar one in my office too. And that is all I needed to trust that machine. I pressed the button, and voila, I was on the 10th floor. His small little story of telling me how he uses it every day was enough that convinced me. Historically, the most important skill in our history of human evolution has been storytelling. How can we actually translate something scientific, something complex, something difficult in a language that all of us can understand? Let me take you on a journey. Let's go back 5,000 years ago, or maybe a little more than that. We are all living in jungles. And this world is a mystery. This nature is mystery. Why does the sun come up? Why is there water all around? Okay, this is rain. Why is there thunder? Oh, there's fire. We did not understand the world. We did not know why things were happening. Even then, the greatest people of that generation relied on stories to make sense of the world. We relied on stories to make nature less scary. Somebody told us the story that, okay, God is not happy today. That's why there is thunder. We did not needed the right answer back then. All we needed was a framework on how can I process this world around me. One of the first stories of human evolution, about the greatness of human evolution, has been how we made our own fire. Making our own fire is the greatest history, is the starting point of storytelling in the world, that now you can control nature. And even this story was told to us in a fascinating way. There is this myth, there is a story of how Prometheus went to gods and stole fire from them and brought it for humanity. We learned this story. Then we evolved. Then came a time when poets and philosophers were the custodian of the society. Poets, storytellers, philosophers, they came forward to explain concepts like democracy, morality, in ways that we could understand. From man of literature, we became man of science. When Galileo said that it's not the earth which is at the center, it's the sun and the earth goes around it, he had to prove it. He had to build a telescope so that people can actually believe. So our currency of trust shifted from mere stories to data, to science. From then, another big shift happened, And we all know that. We all know that time of industrial revolution when machines came in. When machines came for the first time, we were scared. As humans, this world is a black box for us. When we don't understand something, it creates an information void in our minds, and we fill that void with negativity, fear, and skepticism. Psychologists call this the black box effect. The black box effect was at its peak when the Industrial Revolution happened. Oh, there are machines. What if this machine falls on me and I die? Will it even work? Oh, it will take all our jobs. This has been a concern, right? But even then, the greatest storytellers, the entrepreneurs of that generation, when Mr. Henry Ford launched a car, he did not describe the physics or the mechanics behind the engine. He said, this is your ticket to the road. This is your freedom to explore. Because think about it, we are talking about a time when commute was not easy. For you to travel from point A to point B, you were dependent on so many factors. But with a car, you could do it. He told us the story of freedom. From then, another major shift happened. There came the software era. Now, software was a little more harder to trust. Machines you could actually see. You could see the nature, the sun is coming up. But now you have to put your trust into lines of codes. How do you trust that? You've not even done BTech. How would you know what is the code telling you? But one of the greatest stories of software generation, Mr. Steve Jobs, when he launched iPod, he did not describe the device as, okay, this has 5 GB of memory and you can put music to it. No. He said, now you can carry 1,000 songs in your pocket. The moment he said 1,000 songs, I'm sure most of us are able to visualize 1,000 album arts in front of us. And from then, now another major shift is happening, of which we all are a part of, a shift into an era of artificial intelligence. Now, before artificial intelligence, everything that has happened was aiding different things that we do. Everything acted as a support system. But with AI coming into the picture, it is actually making your decisions for you. AI is telling you what to eat. AI is telling you when to wake up. AI is telling you if you got a good night's sleep or not. It's predicting diseases. It's stopping frauds. Basically, it is making decisions for you. And how do you trust that? How do you trust that elevator, which beyond a point we can't even perceive? For that, we need to rely on stories. Just think about it. There is this person, Raj, somewhere in this country right now, and he's sitting in front of a computer on his 3rd round of a technical architect interview. He's already cleared all the technical rounds. So the hiring manager knows that this person knows his stuff because you cleared the technical round, right? But still, he wants to hear your story that why did you use this particular method of solving this problem? What was your approach? So as humans, we have always relied on stories to make sense of the world around us. And with AI, storytelling is going to become way more important than ever. So much so that there is this new role in the market. It has been out there for a little less than a decade. It's called product marketers. Product marketing, the function is that you need to understand tech, you need to understand product, but you need to speak the language so that people can adapt it. You're a marketer, but somebody who really understands technology, who really understands what you do. I'll tell you what happens when we hear a story versus fact. Now our brain does something really interesting. Whenever you hear a fact, only the language processing part of your brain gets activated. For instance, if I tell you, okay, doctor has saved the patient. Okay, you take it, you go home. Versus, when you hear a story, it's like a Diwali in your brain, it's like a fest. More of your brain gets activated. Your sensory, your motor, your emotional, different aspects of your brain light up. Now think about it, the same story of doctor saving the patient. That when the patient came in, there was already a lot of blood loss. It took us 4 doctors in 12-hour shift, and after multiple surgeries, we were finally able to save the patient. At one point, we thought we have lost him, but now he's there. The moment you hear a story like this, you can actually visualize, you can feel the tension inside that operation theater. So whenever you hear a story, more of your brain gets activated. Another thing is, our brain is hardwired to identify patterns. For instance, let's say today morning you woke up and you stumbled your toe. Then you went into the washroom, you realized, okay, there is no toothpaste. And you also missed your bus to the office. And suddenly, what is your story? Oh, I'm having a bad day. All of those three are isolated incidences. If there is no toothpaste today in the morning, it wasn't there last night also. Yesterday when you used it, it wasn't there. But what did you do? Your brain made a pattern and then it gave you a story. Now stories act as cognitive shortcuts. Let's say none of us have ever seen a car and I put a car here and I tell you this device will take you from point A to point B wherever you want to go. Now there are two ways to go about it. One is super analytical, where I start describing the physics and mechanics behind it. Now if I have to go into laws of motions, laws of thermodynamics, I have to explain at what tension each of these screws are tied. Are you interested in listening? Are you interested in giving me 2 months of your time just to understand what a car is? Versus, if I can actually show you, if I can tell you a story that, okay, I work 20 kilometers away from my home, I sit in this device, and it just takes me every day, and I reach in 30 or 40 minutes every day to my work, and I can leave home whenever I want to. I'm not dependent on buses or public transport now. So what stories do is, they act as cognitive shortcuts for you to be able to build trust in something that you have created, or maybe if you're trying to land a job. But now you could say, okay, Himanshu, I've heard enough of you. I've heard stories. You telling so many stories, you telling how the world evolved. But how does storytelling actually work? So in the last 10 years, I've developed this method, which I call as tap to build trust framework, or tap to build trust method, that lets you build trust in any situation, whether you're pitching in front of an investor, whether you're demoing your product to a client, or you're sitting in for a job interview, or you're trying to impress your girlfriend or somebody else's girlfriend. So, see, what do you do when you want somebody's attention who's walking ahead of you? You call their name. So you show them your product. Hey, this is what I have. They look at you and then they go away. What is the next thing you do? You go and tap their shoulder. Now I'll tell you how to tap. TAP stands for trigger, anchor, and proof. Our brain loves unsolved mysteries. So if you start your product pitch, or your story with a trigger, now that trigger could be a question, it could be an amazing fact. Okay, let's give it a try. 1 out of 5 deliveries are always delayed because of bad route map planning, which leads to billions of dollars wasted for e-commerce companies and supply chain companies. Okay, billions of dollars wasted. This is a trigger. You are interested. You're listening. What is it? The next stage is anchor. You have to throw in an anchor. You have to invite the listener into your own world. You have to anchor in some kind of familiarity. For instance, in this situation, we can say things like, okay, Peter works at a supply chain company. He spends 8 hours every day trying to figure out the best route for his deliveries. And despite of that, he receives hundreds of calls every day from unsatisfied drivers and customers because of the packages got delayed. So what did you do here? You threw in an anchor and you showed people the life of that person before the proof or before the product or before the solution. Now comes the last stage, which is proof, where you show what you can do. Here you can say things like that now, Peter doesn't have to spend 8 hours a day. Our AI product, our AI SaaS, what it does is, it optimizes the route on real time. It takes information on real-time weather conditions, real-time traffic conditions, what was the history of deliveries in that particular area, and it gives you the best route possible. And Peter doesn't have to do 8 hours of work. All he needs to do is just click on the optimize button. And that's how you have tapped it. But still, the puzzle is not complete. You still want people to believe you. You still want people to trust you. Now tap to build trust. The trust, the most important part here, the most important piece of the puzzle is vulnerability. Showing them the truth. How many of you here have ever seen a political drama on Netflix or seen any of the early Bollywood movies? Where the basic theme used to be that there is one person, something wrong happened with him, somebody did something to his wife, okay, not wife, let's say sister or mother, and now he grows up and he grows up in vengeance. He wants to go and kill the villain. Now, you come from any morality background or any religious background, killing has always been wrong. But still, in that movie, when that actor goes and kills the villain, you can't stop cheering for him, right? And that happens because as humans, we respond to vulnerability. What does vulnerability mean for you in this situation? When you're pitching a product or when you're sitting in an interview, what can you do here? You have to start with the truth. For instance, saying things like, our tool right now is 85% efficient. Or if in an interview, you can say things like, you wanted these 10 things, I can do 8 of this, for the other 2, I'll learn. So that's the TAP framework to build trust. Now, in the age of AI, we are again in front of that AI elevator, because the higher it goes, the much more would be the gap between people who can understand and people can use. So I want to invite all of you to join me as I step into that elevator again. But this time I'll ask you, what is the story will you tell to let people into your own world? Thank you.